Hi, welcome to the fifth annual Social Justice, Equity, Inclusion, and Symposium. My name is Dr. Teresa Massimo. I'm the director of the event and also a professor in the Communication Studies Department at Ohlone College. This event is a collaboration between Ohlone College, the Ohlone Diversity Inclusion Advisory Committee, also known as ODIAC, and NACA Dance Series and Company. Usually we have this event as a one-day symposium. However, because of COVID, we've had to re-envision it. And I'm really excited to bring to you a 5-part virtual series this year of the symposium with an optional off-campus in-person event on October 22nd, which we'll provide more information with later. This year's theme is radical resistance, radical imagination. And the idea is to explore social justice issues through the lens of contemporary art, ritual performances, and community empowerment. So without further ado, I wanted to share you a little bit about the mission of this symposium, which is to illuminate social and institutional injustices that impact communities that are on the margins. And I want us through the symposium to engage us critically, raise awareness, and motivate us to create some type of social change. Therefore, without any other interruptions, again, welcome to the 5th Annual Social Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Symposium, and we're going to start our first event now.
Like a mother. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. A long way from home, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home, a long way from home.
Are you sleeping on the child's cane? Are you sleeping on the child's cane? Can you hear the child's voice? As the child calls out to you? Because that's what we do. We sleep on the child's pain. We sleep on the child's pain. Don't sleep. Don't sleep. Don't sleep on the child's pain. Right. Don't sleep. Don't sleep. I'm not playing. Y'all think this is a joke?
It's not.
You think these babies out here who are 12 and who are 14 being raped 20 times a day is a joke? You think my rape is a joke? You think me standing here before you doing this performance is a joke? Don't sleep on the child's pain. I am somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And it's past time for you to lay your life upon the ark of justice, for your notes of mercy to float forth from your throat on my behalf. I am somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And I want you to speak to the dead places where care and compassion are supposed to reside, and breathe life into their bones and raise up a mighty army of love for me. I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. Can you not see that I'm drowning in the brutalizing place of fear? Do your ears not perceive the tears that drip from my heart, yearning to be released from the clutches of hell that have become my prison? Can you not smell the loss of hope that pervades my world, for being shoved into a corner of specialized terror? Let me tell you something. You listen. I am somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And I want you to look me in my eyes and speak to me that I'm not worthy to have the warmth of your being wrap itself across my lonely soul. Tell me that I'm not lovely enough for you to risk your life for me. I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And it's cold out here, standing in fear, trembling in unbelief, having to feel and to smell filth. Don't I have a right to live? To life? I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. Do you not think about what my days look like? What the hours or the seconds or the minutes bring? That I don't truly know what a blue sky looks like, because the lenses of my eyes have been painted over with the sweat of a multitude who breathe death into my spirit, that I can't remember how the beautiful touch of love should resonate through my being, or how it should kiss my brow, because my soul has been cracked into tiny shards of brittle brokenness. And every day, I'm torn by an endless stream of hate, and it takes me over. So listen, won't you hear my cry today? And won't you hug the rivers that leak from my eyes and taste my tears? Will you? Will you? I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And I'm yours to love. I'm yours to love. Yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jose Navarrete. I am the co-artistic director of Naka Dance Theater with Devi Kajiyama. This is our third collaboration with Ohlone College, bringing amazing local artists to come to our conversation, to share with us their amazing work that they have done artistically and with the communities. So we are so honored to continue doing this collaboration. Um, I wanted to introduce this amazing person. She's my friend. Um, I know her from, actually, I met her in an amazing project called House Full of Black Women, directed by Amara Tabor Smith. We met there, and it was just from there. It has been 5 years. From there, it has been like a very amazing friendship and collaboration. Um, there is one important thing of Regina Evans, and this is that she created for long time a gallery called Regina's Door Gallery in downtown Oakland that became a refuge for survivors of sex trafficking. We knew so much about the amazing groundwork that she did, and she has been done it. And just like I am so honored and to know her and know the tremendous, impactful work that she has done in our communities. We know resources, we know infrastructure. She's one of these amazing abolitionists, open heart human beings that really care about our community. Anyway, so just I wanted to, like welcome Regina Evans and here in this conversation to talk about her amazing work, 52 Letters. Please, Regina Evans, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a friend and for being such a big support in this issue. I'm on the front line with you and everybody at Eastside Arts Alliance and Naka Dance. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in today. We're going to take you a little bit deeper into some of the reasons and the whys, the horrible whys of child sex trafficking, particularly here in Oakland, which is a top hotspot for sex trafficking. And I'm just going to say this, we are losing the battle. And so I don't think that will always be the case, but we need more soldiers on the ground. So I'm glad that you guys are here today to kind of understand a little bit about what is going on, and hopefully some of you will join in the fight. It's a very emotional issue. And so I ask that you watch after your hearts and your spirits. If you have to leave, that's totally fine. We're going to show some other excerpts of 52 Letters. It's a very heated play. And so I always give heart warnings. So I just want you to watch after yourself during this time. And to start it out, we're just going to calm the atmosphere a bit with the beautiful Rashida Chase. Rashida is a wonderful young queen in Oakland who is actually running Regina's Door right now, which is amazing. And I've created a new space called Conjuring Men, which is also a space where young survivors can come. But Rashida has her own thing going on, is an abolitionist, is an amazing singer, and is one of my community daughters. I trust her with my life, and she's badass. And her notes are divine and sacred. And so she's gonna calm the atmosphere. So just sit with yourself for a minute and close your eyes if you want, and just sit in the quiet of your being.
Ooh, 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 mother, father, sky and sea, open up the in-between, sweet spirit, fiery guides, reveal to me your powerful eyes. Ooh, 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 help heal us of past and future. Tell me what will soothe us, sweet spirit, fiery guides, reveal to me your powerful eyes. Ooh, 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 mother, father, sky and sea, open up the in-between, sweet spirit, fiery guides, reveal to me your powerful eyes. Ooh, ooh, sweet spirit, ooh, 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 ooh.
Ashe, Ashe, Amen. Thank you, Rashida. We're going to continue with one of my mentors, one of the greatest abolitionists that walked this land. And she's probably laughing right now at me for saying that, but she is. She's taught me so much. And it's actually one of the reasons why I joined into this fight. Her name is Benita Hopkins. And she's going to start us out today by giving us an overview of trafficking, some of the definitions, because I know people hear about trafficking, but we might not know what it is. And so she's going to give you a baseline view of what trafficking is all about. I introduce to you Benita Hopkins. Thank you, Benita.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you, Naka Dance Theater and this symposium for this opportunity to maybe give some insight to those with questions. So the first big question is, and if we could have that picture, what is human trafficking? Next slide. So you see the definition there as a modern form of slavery. Human trafficking involves controlling a person through force, fraud, or coercion. And traffickers may exploit the victim of their labor through sex or both. Well, there are three main factors to trafficking. It takes an action, a means, and there is a purpose. And the action there, as we see, one of them is force. I think that's the easiest for all of us to understand and to get a hold of. We know what physical violence looks like. We know what sexual violence is and what it looks like. And even confinement and imprisonment. Those are easy definitions. But sometimes when you think of fraud, maybe not as easy. And here's an example. If a gentleman is in the mall and he sees some young girls coming along and invites them to, or entices them by, wow, you are great model potential, and offers them $35 an hour to come so he can take pictures and really help them in their new modeling job. But when they get there for the pictures, they find that there's more to it than just taking pictures and doing modeling. That is just a simple example of fraud. Or let's look at coercion. Coercion is that force that has threats and other persuading mechanisms attached to it. So those three means are means of trafficking. But there is an exception. Today we're focusing on child sex trafficking particularly, and that is the exception to the definition. Children are always considered victims and don't need to prove force, fraud, or coercion. Or I should say force, fraud, and coercion. As a society, we believe that children do not have the ability to consent to sex until they've reached a certain level of brain development. If a child's too young to consent to sex, they are also too young to be paid for sex. So the law says that someone under the age of 18 that is engaging in commercial sex, they are victims and are entitled to services for child trafficking as a child trafficking victim, even if they appear to be acting alone. So the last tool that's used is for the purpose of exploitation. That is the purpose. That purpose is for profit, to profit by compelling another person to engage in labor or sex, or labor and sex. In some instances, some involve both. I know today is focusing on child sex trafficking, but labor trafficking is another tactic that is used in another form of trafficking. So next slide. Exploitation. It is not, sometimes you may hear, it's not to be confused, I should say, with the choice of buying sex or the choice of sex work is what I'm saying. But exploitation, if it involves a child, it is exploitation and trafficking. Next slide. There are some misconceptions that I want to leave you with today. Many believe, oh, it doesn't happen here. As Regina mentioned, we live in a hotspot for our nation for this type of activity. It is a right here problem, not just an over there problem. It is a right here problem. This is a worldwide problem as well. Exploitation is a global pandemic, another one that we, as Regina said, are been losing the battle here, particularly with the COVID situation going on as well. But there are victims right here in our own country, not just from other countries. And another misconception is that the victims are only women and girls. No, there are male victims as well. And we're seeing a rise in the male population of victims of trafficking. And as I said earlier, is it just sex trafficking? No, there's labor trafficking. There are other forms of trafficking as well. So I hope you gain a brief overview today of trafficking here in the Bay Area, child trafficking in particular. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Benita and Regina and Rashida, Jose. Like, I wanted to now kind of have like a panel discussion, right? And just talk about this issue because you're right, it is happening in our backyards, right? But it's not perhaps in the peripheral of some folks because there isn't as much attention or of the perceptions you talked about, Benita, about like when we think of sex trafficking or, or trafficking in general, it's forced, but there's other types that you mentioned. And so I appreciate your time right now to do this because I think it's an important issue. And I also think that I was not very aware of the prevalence of trafficking, even in my studies in college. Like, I don't really remember studying about it, really learning about it, except more in theory and getting bits and pieces from the news, and like watching Oprah and having her tell her, a story of somebody that experienced it. And so when I met Jose, who introduced me to Regina, it just opened my eyes to a very different perspective, and I appreciate what you're doing. But I just wanted to know, how is this, like, how can this exist right under our noses and we don't even know it?
Well,
Be-
oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Jose.
before we start, just we wanted to encourage our viewers, if they
Yeah.
have any questions, if they are on Zoom, there is a bottom, a little, yeah, bottom that you can click if you have any questions for Regina or for anybody, Rashida or Benita. That would be really great. Also, if uh, if you are seeing this program on Facebook, you can also text us there. So we will take your notes or your comments and present it here. That's what I want to say. I'm sorry, Regina, please
Oh, no,
go ahead.
that's okay. I think one of the things is, and I say this all the time when I speak, we have not had a national conversation about slavery or past day slavery. So that thing, like I say this all the time, it's not like you talk about the commodification of the Black female womb, right? When we talk about modern day slavery, as if it's a revisit, but it's actually a continuation. The snake has just continued. Frederick Douglass, he has a quote, and he says that slavery will call itself by many names and will yet again call itself by many names. And you and I, all of us, better take heed and see how the snake will rear its head again. And I think he said that in 18 something, like, I mean, it's a very prophetic statement. And so if you don't go to the root of a problem, then that problem continues to grow. So that's at the base of it, for me, that's super important. We also are living in a time where we are disconnected from one another. And where you have those disconnections between friends, between families, it's easier for darkness to seep in. I don't know any community who's like, hey, yeah, we're just going to invite some traffickers in, right? That's just not who we are as people. But it comes in because we are not fastidious about being on watch for let alone each other, children and each other. And the traffickers are way there ahead of us. Their movements are way far ahead of the abolitionist movement. And then you have things like, trafficking sits at the crossroads of a lot of isms, sexism, racism, sits at poverty. Now also, doesn't discriminate. It will catch every socioeconomic level. But where we think it doesn't exist, that's where, and we're not doing something about it, that's where it will get a stronghold. And what we see on the streets, like we call the track international, that's like the tip of the iceberg, because you have it online. These are very deep wells. And I think also too, because it's such a painful issue that people don't know how to deal with it or access or how to help, because it's so painful. You're talking about a 10-year-old being raped, or a 12-year-old or 14-year-old being raped multiple times a day. How do people handle that? Particularly if we have not dealt with our own wounding, because you're jumping in the fight with your own wounds, and a wound meeting a wound is only going to repel each other. And so there's that. There's so many different different reasons why, but I think probably for me, it's a historical reason. And then also, you know, the fact that we're disjointed in our communities. Benita, you have anything to add, or Rashida?
I do think it's important to emphasize the disconnectedness and disjointedness in our communities. The fact that we don't take care of each other anymore. I remember when I was growing up in Oakland, and you know, it was Oakland in the 80s and 90s, so it was crazy. But there were still grandmothers who looked out for you, that would sit on their porch when you were walking by, when you got off the bus. There was community aunties, community uncles. There were people who looked out for you. And even, you know, your play cousins that would be on the block. You know, just people that knew you, or like we were everybody's kids when I was growing up. And we don't have that anymore. And I'm not sure, you know, what the dynamic is. This, well, American individualism, I think, is a huge piece of that. But we've completely lost our community spirit, the spirit of community. And so I think that when you, like Regina said, when you have disconnection in your community, all kinds of things can seep in. I mean, we as a country have trouble even talking to our children about sex. So to talk to them about trafficking is not even something that I don't think most people can comprehend. So we have a lot of things that we need to work through as a country and as people, to make sure that these things don't continue to happen to our youth.
I agree with both of you on the disconnectivity that we are finding in our society today, as well as the communities. We've lost our sense of community, like Rashida said. But I will play my old recording over and over and over. My thing is education as well. Being educated on this issue in our communities is very important. Not only the regular community person, but even educating by changing the language of those of law enforcement, of those servicing this population. A child is not a sex worker or a prostitute. A child is not a prostitute. A child is exploited. A child does not make up his or her mind to be sold for profit of someone else. There are so many, you know, change, even our media. You know, when we do get to hear about this issue in the media, the language that is used is so wrong, and victimizing victims and things of that nature. So I think all of that is important as well.
And training, like getting people trained, as Benita was saying, community members can get trained to have like a bit of a more foundation into what is actually occurring. There's an abolitionist named Nola Brantley. Nola runs Nola Brantley Speaks, but Nola is also one of the co-founders of MISSY, along with Sarai Mazariegos. And MISSY was the first organization on the ground breaking groundwork here in Oakland. And they were also part of the movement, because people were saying, back then, people were saying child prostitute. The cops were saying child prostitute. It was just the thing to say. And so they really stood against that and like really just kept hitting the ground. But Nola, I'm going to give you her, I think it's nolabrantley.speaks.org. And Nola is doing all of her trainings online now, and most of them for free. She is one of the best trainers nationally and internationally. And so I encourage people to go to her site and to sign up for one of her trainings. And I know Benita's taken her trainings, I've taken her trainings, Rashida's always up in her trainings. And it's very impactful. And also Sarai Mazariegos does trainings too through Shade. And I think that website is shademovement.org. But you can also connect up with Sarai and Shade on Facebook, and Nola too, Nola Brantley Speaks. So Shade Movement, Nola Brantley Speaks. Those are two great nonprofits for training the community.
Nola was my very first trainer almost 15 years ago. And still the things that I learned from her stick with me to this day.
Daily, right.
I guess I want to ask our audience, how many of them know that teaching about this issue to our children is a law now here in the state of California? Probably very few of you knew that the governor prior to Governor Newsom, Davis, do I have the right name? I don't want to say the wrong name. Whoever the governor was before Governor Newsom, that person, so sorry. Oh my goodness, that was bad. He signed into law that in core curriculum, 7th, 9th, and 11th grade students be taught about this this topic in core curriculum and as a prevention measure. Now, how many children have been taught yet is a different story, but it is the law here in California. So parents who are listening, talk with your schools. If you have children in those grades, talk with your schools to get that going in your schools. Yes.
What's the program? Can you tell them what the program is?
It's Protect.
Oh, okay.
It's Protect Now. But any program, the law is to teach the subject matter. You know, you can use any program, but get that done in our schools.
One of the reasons why it's not being done is funding. So y'all make some calls about asking the school systems to put the funding into those programs, because that's what's prohibiting. That's the prohibitive part, or at least one of them, right, Benita?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And here in Alameda County, they are going to be getting that. They were to get it this past year, but we all know what happened in March. But I'm sure there are many people listening who are in other counties in our state. But I would say go there, start with your schools.
Yeah, my son's school, even though they've addressed perhaps the forced a little bit about being aware of stranger, just very minimal. It's not something that's really discussed, or we really just look at it from, maybe a theoretical perspective, right? And so that's why I'm so passionate about this, because you, through your performances and through your advocacy and your frontline work, you're doing what most people don't know how to do. It's not that we don't want to do it, but we don't know how to do it. And so I guess I want to know, let me back up. So before we talk about that, tell me what does child sex trafficking look like in Oakland or in our, local communities? Can you kind of give us a spoken visual representation of that?
I can. Can I just back up a minute? So if you go to Nola Brantley Speaks, she has a training, I think it's called Word to the Street, or Word on the Street, or something like that. And that program, she will train you to train even the children in your community or schools or whatever. I think it's from 3rd grade. Benita, is it 3rd grade?
I
So
think
you can become a trainer. I think you have to do CSEC 101, 102, and a couple others. But if you take that course, she will literally train you so that you can train the children. And, you know, that's a way of protecting them. So I just wanted to say that. And so in Oakland, what's going on? So let me just say this. I'm going to say what's going on in, you know, with COVID, because it even caught me by surprise. I actually got a flare from a community member and said, Mama Reg, have you been out on the streets? I went out like 2 days later, and 2 nights later, me and Amara Tabor Smith. And I was shocked by not only the amount of young beloved that were out, but just the feel of the atmosphere. Some people call them Johns. I just call them rapists. Because if you're gonna buy a child, I'm just like, you're a rapist. It was just almost a gleeful, just so happy. And my system was in shock. And so Amar and I just kept going out, and it was just wild, you know? And so what we learned was that there's about a 73% spike in trafficking, and that's like across the nation during this time. And it's you know, in Oakland, most of the girls being trafficked, and this is not, you know, all across the nation, but I'll speak to Oakland because that's where I am. Most of the girls are brown and Black girls. And so damn, like, where are the mamas and the aunties and the uncles and the grandfathers? Like, let's just be real. Where is everybody? And so the young and the young exploiters, they need help, because here in Oakland, they are young brown and Black men, and they're probably like 19. They are young. They are young. And I've been trying for many, many years to get a group of elder Black men to circle up around them, because they just need someone to talk to and to steer them in the right direction. And so I put that call out now. If there's any elder Black man that is interested in getting a group of Black men together to speak life into these young men who are running a business, an illicit business. So they got business skills, right? They just don't have proper mentorship. And I'm also not saying it's an easy path. It is hard. It is not a quick path. It is a marathon. You cannot mentor these young men for a year and be like, deuces, I'm out. You got to stay with them for a lifetime.
the long haul.
For the long haul. The same thing with the young beloved.
Yes.
Since I started Regina's Door, I still have some of the same young women in my community. It's a long haul. And speaking as a survivor myself, like, the healing part of it is what's so intense. It's a lifelong journey of healing. And I want to say this too. So if you think about like the average age is like 12 to 14 of entry into trafficking. That's right? Is that right? That's right at the moment they begin the journey into young adulthood. Right there, like, think about how crucial that is. So right there at that moment, something grabs them. So that means you carry that stuff all the way to your young adulthood, to your adulthood. That's what you're dealing with. Okay? The trauma of it. The trauma of sexual violence is deep. It is like the cracking over and over again, a slamming of a mirror on the ground, that all the pieces have to then be put together. That requires a community. That is not one mentor for a child. That is like a circle around each child. And so this is what we're asking for people to join in the fight here. I know Oakland is filled with, you know, we got the rainbow people, we got the artists, the unicorns, we got all the beautiful people here. Oakland is filled with compassionate artists and compassionate activists. And so we need more of those people like on the field for the long haul, to commit to a child for the long haul. And we've been seeing, you know, more people coming out, like we see it with Beloved and Insistence, where artists are just coming out. Like, it's wild. Like, since I've started doing this work, that's the most I've ever seen people come out and support. And these are not people that are in the movement per se, although some people, the NGOs are there, but they're people from theater, music, you know, the businesses, the surrounding businesses, everybody comes out to help build these altars. And so that bring love to the beloved. And so that's kind of the terrain. And the last thing I'll say is trafficking is, there are different faces of it. So if you ever get to the point where you're like, okay, it looks like this, then you're making a mistake, because it also looks like this, and it looks like this, and it looks like this, and it looks like this. But in your community, what does it look like? What does it look like in your community? That's what you focus on, because you can focus on that because it's in your community, where you live, where your heart lives, where your spirit beats, where your feet tread, the air that you breathe. So focus on that, but also be aware that it is different via the globe, all around the globe, it is different.
Can I
and I'll
add
stop
something?
there.
Can I
But
add something
Brittany-
there, Regina?
Yep.
You mentioned Oakland specifically because that's where you're from, but
Right.
I don't want anyone to get it twisted that, and you mentioned also that what you see and what we know, particularly in Oakland, it affects this field, this sphere affects our Black and brown people of color. But don't get it twisted. Every demographic, every culture,
Yes.
every religion
Yes.
is affected by this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it has no special people group or no special demographic. Around the world and in these United States, every demographic is affected.
Yes.
So just like Oakland has a face of this, Walnut Creek has a face of this as well.
Yes.
San Francisco's face looks different.
Yep.
San Jose's face looks different.
Yes.
My home of Fremont looks different. Hayward looks different.
Right.
In every community, you will find this issue. And like Teresa asked, having the eyes, you know, how is it under our nose and we don't see? Having those eyes to see it is key. And I think that comes via education.
Yes.
Just I wanted to intersect a little bit, just like, because actually, you know, I have been working with Regina for a few years. And one of the things that we noticed that, especially the providers, the social workers providers, we don't have any infrastructure. It is like we are dealing, I mean, like the work that Regina, what is so powerful is because Regina does it for love, but there is not resources. I mean, we should really advocate to implement education about the issue in all levels. but it is not. I mean, like when we trying to figure out the help as survivors, there is nothing. There is no that refuge. There is no the therapist. There is no housing. There is nothing. And I think that's what we need to think about. Like there is no infrastructure for this problem, especially in Oakland that I know.
Yeah.
We need, so
It's
Well,
very little.
there's some, but there's not in
Very little.
in relation to how big the problem is. There is like the housing thing, like you're saying, Jose. We hardly have any housing for young beloved. And here's the thing: when you're out on the track, they know it too. They know it. And so that, I mean, think about that. Besides the thing of them not, people not seeing them and them knowing that their bodies and their beings are not being seen, they also know that there is a dearth of resources. Like the housing thing is huge. We need more housing. So if any of you are listening, call your representatives, your council people. We need more funding for housing. Even during time of COVID, it has been hard for organizations to get housing vouchers. I won't say the organization, but I know personally an organization who was like, housing, I need housing vouchers. I need money for this. I need housing vouchers. But everybody was talking about DV, domestic violence, which also needs support. But with, I remember at the first meeting for the task force, the task force, trafficking wasn't even mentioned. They had one slide with one name. There was no, and we're talking about, disparities. It wasn't even mentioned. So that meant we were like, starting at like a negative place for trying to put it on the map. And we're out there seeing, so many more beloved on the track. And so we need support to to be able to go and to talk to people and say, hey, this is actually what we need. We need you to support the Shade movement as they're trying to do wraparound resources for girls and for housing. We need you to support Dream Catchers and Missy. Those are organizations that particularly work here in Oakland regarding trafficking. We need the community to support and to use your voices to push the issue, because without the community voice, we begin to disappear.
And
I know that Love Never Fails has housing.
But think about the housing that is available in a COVID time. That's even more of a disparity because, with the proximity, people having to stay, not being able to be in close proximity. So that makes it even more of a problem, of a problem already. So yes, to answer your question, Love Never Fails does have housing and has just opened housing for teens, which is a big problem. There is a great need for all concerned, adults as well as children, male and female.
Yes. So there is not enough. So, but we need the community to make some noise about those. Yeah, get involved and to literally like make some noise. Like what's going on with the housing for trafficking? Yeah. What's going on with the resources? And also like for people to support the people that are on the front line, because for real, not everybody can do this work. It's just like not everybody can do a lot of different things. Not everybody can do the work on the front line, but the people that are doing the work on the front line, trust me, they're tired, because I know I'm tired. And support like those people that are on the front line and lift them up, lift up their arms, and so that they can continue to do the work.
Right, Regina, it is hard work. Not everybody can do it. And I appreciate all of you for doing that. And sharing about it, because I think it's important that, there's this injustice that's going on, that's on the peripheral, right? That's underfunded, that's not even noticed on the COVID plan as even a major concern.
Nope.
What can we do as a community to help? Like what can we do? What are some small things we can do? Besides
Rashida?
calling and besides, maybe writing our congressperson, like, because that, we need to start at the grassroots. How can we support you and your work?
I think before you even call your congressperson, before you talk to your city council person, before you start calling the mayors, before you start doing anything else, you need to talk to the children in your life. Have a conversation with them. If you have not talked to them about sex because you think they're too young, you're wrong. They know about it. I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I typically say this in the talkbacks that we have after 52 letters. And I had two male friends who told me that they lost their virginity when they were 8. 8 years old. So at the time, my son was 9 and my daughter was 7. And I was like, well, what do I do? Because, I experienced sexual assault when I was 9 years old. And I had no frame of reference for what any of that was, what happened to me, any of that. And to me, it was imperative to make sure that my children are prepared for certain things. They need to be prepared. We need to have these conversations. It needs to be a normal thing in our house to talk about these things. When we are driving down International, East 14th, because I grew up here, but when we're driving down, we're having conversations. I knew a girl who got snatched when I was in high school. So these are conversations that get swept under the rug. Nobody wants to talk about it. So before you start doing anything else, you need to start having conversations in your own house. Because there's so much secrecy and shame and all kinds of things that prevent us from having these conversations, but we are doing our children a disservice by not preparing them properly. And also love on the children that are around you. Because one of the things that we've talked about is that at 11, 12 years old, if they're not being snatched into trafficking, they're being told things as simple as, you are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You're beautiful. Like, that's it. You're beautiful. Yep. So if they're not hearing that from you, anybody who says that to them is filling up their cup with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have these conversations with your children. You have to, not just your children, but the children in your life, your nieces, your nephews, your friends' kids, all of the children around you. Because like I said, we're all doing them a disservice by not having these conversations and thinking, oh, well, they're too young. They're not ready. No, you're not ready. And you need to work through whatever it is that is preventing you from being ready to have those conversations, because things are going to happen to them. We don't have control over what happens to our children when they leave us, when they leave, for school, for whatever, parties or anything like that. So it is your job and it is your responsibility as their parent, as the adults in their lives, to make sure that you're having these conversations. So this is something that's at least on their radar. So it's not like, oh my God, or you're not finding out in an emergency situation.
And may I add in that is so good, Rashida. May I add to be mindful and aware of your own family members. Don't allow, your child to hang or be around alone with certain family members. That may be hard to hear, but we do know with children, one of the top risk factors are familial people, people that they know, people that they should be able to trust, but they can't because those people didn't have that taught to them when they were younger. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think some other ways that people can help, and thank you for saying that, Rashida and Benita, because that's super important and foundational. I think other ways that you can help is to, the community can help is to, like I think I mentioned before, is to get in the flow of what's actually going on, like volunteer at some of the nonprofits, like contact Missy. I think it's missy.org. Dream Catchers, which I don't know the website for that, but you can contact me. I can put you in contact with Dream Catchers. My email is evans.regina@gmail.com. You know, all of them have lists of things that they need to help care for the beloved. And you can become a mentor. I started out at Dreamcatchers. I was teaching a creative writing class with Sarai. At that time, she was the youth coordinator, and that's how I started. So you can use your creativity, you can use your skills. I think one of the most powerful things you can do in this movement is to mentor a child. Mentor a child. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with an anti-trafficking organization. You can get involved with whatever organizations are, like through your church, through your school, through your business. But I do think it's important to come up underneath the organizations and say, how can I help? Where do you need help? How can I use my skills and my talents? And I'll give you an example. One thing that I started doing, and I kind of got stopped by COVID, but there are some theaters so I was training young survivors of trafficking because I'm a theater costumer, to be costumers. And last year, Marin Shakespeare Theater actually hired a couple of survivors, and then so did Wolves and Ubuntu, but Oakland Theater Project. And so just to be like in a different environment of people that surround you. And so, you know, you can create your own kind of program as long as you have the training and stay connected to people that are doing the fight. Because here's the thing, don't do this work alone. Do not do it alone. It is a village work. It is a village work because it will tax you, and you will also potentially harm the child as well, or potentially re-traumatize.
Mhm.
So those
Great.
would be my suggestions.
Thank you, Regina. Just I wanted to say that some people are asking questions, but pretty much
Okay.
you already answered, like how to get involved, how can we talk with children, you know, like how to have those conversations with the parents. So like I think all the stuff that you have been mentioning,
Okay.
really, people are really interested.
So there's another website too by Janice Jacobs. She has a website called Abolitionist Mom. Is that right, Benita? Where she has toolkits. So I think you can go onto the website and download the toolkits. She has really good toolkits for parents and community members. I think it's abolitionistmom.org, but if it's not, just look up Janice Jacobs. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, just I wanted to follow up this idea that you brought up in terms of being creative. And I mean, you know, my connection with you, Regina, has to do with being creative, using art as an expression for social change.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to just like, you know, like if you can share with us this, how can you create this amazing piece of 52 letters? How was your process? Why you are using singing? Why you are using dancing? Why you are using theater to address those issues. And I wanted to see
Yep.
what can you say about.
Well, I literally was led by spirit to do art. It's not anything that I thought that I would be doing. If you'd asked me like 20 years ago, but I just kind of followed the path of God. You know, your mission in life will continue to tap you on your shoulder or knock you over the head or something until you say, okay, like for real, you can't get away from it. I was like, no, leave me alone. No, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to do something else. It just never went away. And so it was just kind of like one step after the other. And Benita was actually a very crucial part of my actually doing 52 letters, because I had done another play and I tried to do it in a thing of it in San Francisco. And it was at the beginning of my journey and it was just so hard. And I remember I did a showing and I think there was like 5 people there and Benita had a table and she was, what do you call it, Benita? She was not vending, but she had like a table filled with information. And it was actually the first time that I had gone on stage to act. And that happened because all the actors dropped out. They're like, y'all know what you're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I'm like, I have a vision. I don't have any money, but I know how to write. So I'm going to write a play. I'm a poet. I can do it. Shakespeare did it. I could do it. That's how I started writing. And so then I just like everybody dropped out. And so then it was just me and this young girl who's now actually graduated from college named Erin Lockett. So I rewrote the whole play. It was called Echo, a Poetic Journey into Justice. And I wrote it because she was my shadow. And that's the first time that I went on stage. And I actually thought I sucked. And so here's this beautiful woman. She comes, I'm like devastated on the inside because of the whole process and thinking that, God, this is terrible. And so she came up to me and she said, you were so amazing. And I was like, who the hell is she talking to? Like, for real. She was like, you were so amazing. I was like, me? And she just kept feeding into my life. And at the end, she said, before she left, she said, I'm going to see you again. And she did. It was 2 or 3 years later. 2 or 3 years later. And by that time I had gone through a whole process. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing no plays. I'm just too hard. I'm not doing this. But again, the tap, right? Tap, knock, knock, knock. Okay, I'm gonna write a play. And I started writing 52 letters. I sought out the wisdom of a guy named Justin Dillon, who is an abolitionist, and he had done some tremendous work. And I called him and said, hey, can I come talk to you? And I want to do this play. And he said, well, what are you hearing? And I said, I'm just hearing tell their stories. And he said, well, do that. And he said, write and then sit with it. He said, an artist is able to hover over the work and not send it out. And it will tell you when it's ready. And then I connected up with Christina at Exit, and Christina was the next. She just went, I did this little excerpt for her and I got off stage and I was like, whew, I'm finished. And she said, no, you're just starting. And so she put me in like all these festivals. She got like all these professional photos and I was like, what is going on? And then I got into the Fringe Festival and it won Best of Fringe. Wow. And so then, yeah, it won Best of Fringe. So, and then I just kept going and people were like, oh, you're going to get a run in the theater. And that was 2013. It didn't get a theater run until 2019 with me and Rashida doing the live singing. And I honestly believe that 52 Letters was waiting for Rashida. I felt like Rashida was the last piece that needed to be there before it received a run. It was like, it's gonna, it's like a ball of fire, but you're gonna need Rashida because that's a ball of fire and you need to be chilled, cool. Because there's sometimes when Rashida's singing and on stage, and I'll stop, like I'll be in the back and she'll just be singing. Like I tell her this all the time. There was one time she was just singing and I was like supposed to be here and I could see her head go, like, where the hell is Regina? Like, and then I could see her body go, okay, she's just letting me sing. I just stand there and listen to her because it's so much, because my own trauma comes up. And so Rashida like acts like for me personally as I'm performing, because my trauma comes up so much as I'm doing it, she acts like as cool water, cool sweet water on my soul. And so I'm able to do my job better when she's with me. I have done this play when I first started doing 52 letters. Every single time I did it, I either got bronchitis or I got pneumonia. And Benita can tell you. And I found out later that trauma is held in the lungs. I was like, oh. And so, but that doesn't happen anymore. Like we did 52 letters, we didn't get sick. When we did it at Ubuntu, we didn't get sick. It was, you know, it felt powerful, like nothing crazy happened, nothing spiritually crazy happened. And so, you know, sometimes you just have to wait. And so it's almost like 52 letters was like, we just gonna wait for Rashida. And then during that time between 2013 and 2019, I did a lot of excerpts. I did it, you know, in people's homes. I just, you know, I did it at conferences. I just kept, huh?
Here even.
You did at Ohlone.
Ohlone.
Oh yeah, Ohlone.
Yeah.
I did at
Yeah.
Ohlone. Yep. And I just kept going because of the message that it delivered. And every time I did it, like, you know, people were moved by it to the point of wanting to do something. So I know that the piece was important enough for me to keep doing because it's an awareness piece for the community.
Totally.
And so that's kind of how that happened. And then just with the, you know, my other art, I really didn't know I was an artist until Karen Snefru told me one day, you're an artist. And I was like, no, I'm not. I know I'm a theater artist, but like, she said, oh no, you're an artist and you're gonna do this wall. She wanted me to do this installation. And so that's literally how I started doing art, installation art. And then that just kind of moved into doing Beloved and Insistence, where we do installations outside, which you guys are a part of. And so now what we do is we build these, I think we have some pictures. We build these.
Yeah, we have some pictures, but we can ask David to bring them up.
Yeah.
But one is like your background, Regina.
Oh,
I mean, like,
what
just,
about?
the background is your installation. Like,
Oh, right. Yeah, I did that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me 7 months to do it. You guys are only seeing a little portion of it, but I mean, this wall is huge. And the building that I'm in, they're going to level it and build a building that's going to have either 8 or 16 units for survivors of trafficking, but they're going to preserve this wall and put it in the building and stuff. So when I first was doing it, I was like, oh shoot, yeah.
Yeah.
The wall's going to come down, but they're going to preserve it.
Just I want to add, like, when I have experienced your work of 52 letters, I mean, like, you conjure the spirits, but also because actually the work is so powerful and it impacts people. It really like, especially if you have been survival or like, you know, you have like a tremendous impact in your life, you treat stuff. But I have noticed that you bring our healers, our community healers, to hold on. Like, it is like, even though it's very cathartic and very intense, but you are able to create a safe house, a safe place for these people to go through it. You know, we believe that going through what happened to you, it would allow you some kind of healing. And just to say that because you are extremely aware of the work that you do and you create that.
Yes, like the last time I remember when we did it at Eastside, it got really wild there. The spirit, it got wild. People were like really affected by it. And I mean, it was an experience for me too. It kind of took me aback. I was like, whoa, what is happening? But there were so many healers from the community that, because I always ask healers to come, that were able to just, you know, do their thing. And then when we did it at last year, I had this idea that I was going to do communion. And so I had two ideas: do communion and take people back to their childhood, because, you know, there's something about our childhood when we think about it, like, you know, well, for a lot of people, it is a place of solace. And so me and Rashida, we did milk and cookies. And because we're in Oakland, we did almond milk and cookies. So, and as soon as Rashida and I brought out the almond milk and cookies, it just shifted everything. People were like, oh, you know, it was like a big release. And I was like, oh, so it is like to sit in your childhood. And also everybody's passing around the milk and cookies and talking, you know, about this crazy lady bringing me some almond milk and cookies, what's going on. And so just, you know, because you have to, for the people that have seen 52 letters, they'll understand it's like really filled with heat. So I'm very aware. And I also, I don't do trigger warnings, but I do heart warnings, and to let people know it's okay to leave. If it's too much, I've actually stopped performances because people were wailing. And so I've just stopped the whole performance. I'm not opposed to doing that. So, but it's important for us to be in community and to have that flow of community as we're doing the performance.
I feel that passion. Like when you performed this at Ohlone a couple years ago, I felt that passion, and it made me want to do something and reach out, you know, and do more. And so I guess this brings me into like maybe providing a platform for various types of injustices to showcase in an institution of education, right? Where we need to be aware of this stuff, and we need to do something from the ground up, right? But moving on to your point, Regina, like then after that, I felt more comfortable once I was able to maybe hear these stories of the beloved and really put myself in their shoes through your art, that I felt more comfortable doing a little bit of other things, right? And then the whole installation that you're doing with Beloved and Assistance, I feel like it's something that we were just talking about community, like something the community can also do just a little bit.
Can you show some of the slides from Beloved and Assistance so people can see what we are doing? So these are, I actually had a dream, and the track, which is the area where you see high levels of child sex trafficking. I had a dream that the track was covered in a garden. And so I woke up in the morning, and so I just called my friends and I said, hey, we need to build a garden on the track. And so all these artists came out, the NGOs came out, Shade, Missy, Dreamcatchers, Animica Village, Owning Your Own Truth, just like a ton of people. We've been supported by the Oakland Ballet, been supported by the Oakland Symphony. And so basically what we do is we just build garden altars of beauty. So there's no ask. That the only thing is that we go and we deliver beauty to the beloved. And we also embed all of the altars with PPE, like mask, hand sanitizers, dental dams, condoms, water, and we embed resource information as well. But so many people have come out for each of them. And so it's been a beautiful time of community healing amongst ourselves as well, whilst we're doing something beautiful for the beloved. And then we just leave some beauty, and then we take off and then prepare for the next one.
Yeah. And guess what, y'all? Guess what? Regina is doing another installment of Beloved and Assistant, and Rashida was there last time, even though I didn't get to I knew she was, I didn't know her because she had a mask on, but we worked on a poll together and it was such a cathartic experience. And she's doing an installation October 22nd. It's an in-person event, but it is at your own risk to come, because I know we're in a really different time right now where we can't be it, but they're all safety protocols are in place, wearing masks, hand sanitizers, so we can, give some love and jet to the folks that we're talking about right now. So that is the thing that's available that you can do, even if it's not maybe attending, maybe it's by providing supplies, et cetera, et cetera. So I can provide you more information with our next event, which is an in-person event at your own risk, but it's worth it because I went to it and it was just something I talked about for days and it still sits with me.
Great. And also just I wanted to add what Teresa is saying is that it's going to be only from 3 to 5. That will be October 22nd, Thursday, from 3 to 5, and it's going to be at Eastside Arts Alliance. The address of Eastside Arts Alliance is 2277 International Boulevard, between 23rd and 22nd. So you will see us there, but we will be there only for a short time this time, which will be from 3 to 5.
Yeah, because usually it's like 3 to 9, but this is the last one for the year. And so we're also dedicating the mural that was done by CC, Carpio, Dime, Sarai, the other, Priya, and I think there was 2 other people. So we'll be setting up a mural in front, a long installation in front of the mural.
Yeah.
May I just add that this topic can be very traumatic, right? But I think what we're witnessing right here with these beautiful, beautiful pictures are the power of art to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Art is a healer. It gives voice, it connects to pain, and it keeps us connected. But I think the beauty of this is very healing for all.
Yeah. And Household of Black Women, just with Amara Tabor Smith and Ellen and Alexa and Amber, like so many of the women from Household of Black Women have come out. And that's like how I, originally connected up with you, Jose, and Eastside Arts Alliance. So it's like all these full circles happening for the sake of the beloved. It's been beautiful.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience for me as somebody who, like I said, I'm not as aware. I know about it, but I don't know how to do anything. And it was only through seeing your play that I was able to really understand it, right? From a very different perspective, because it was on the peripheral, luckily,
Right.
experience.
So I wanted to ask Rashida a question.
Yeah.
Rashida. For some reason. Okay. So I just wanted to, so you've been doing abolitionist work for a little while now. And I just wanted to, I want to ask this question because community members sometimes are like, I don't know, like what to do, how to get started, how to access it, and so I just was wondering, like, what was it like for you when you first started? How did you start doing it? And how did you maintain to, how is it that you've continued to do it?
Okay, so it's hard. Like Regina said, I really, I would say that I've always kind of been on the periphery. I've had cousins that have been trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
And so being someone that they talk to, not all the time, but sometimes, and just hearing, you know, some of the things that they went through and knowing what their life experiences were growing up. um, I was like, what can I do? You know, the same thing that everybody says when they, you know, come to the play or they interact with any person or any organization that is dealing with trafficking. And so I started to dive deeper when, after you asked me to do the play. So 52 Letters was really my entry into being serious about it. And so one of the first things I did was I took NOLA's CSEC 101 class. Um, and so that really helped me to kind of understand what I was going to be dealing with, like on a very basic level, you know, because when that's not your experience and you don't like, I don't work in any organization that's dealing with trafficking. So this is all still new to me, but taking that class, and then I took the 101, 102 class, and then I took a harm reduction class, and then I'm taking, I took the 103 class. So it really, for me, the way that I learn best is through school. So I think it's really important that you understand your learning style, because some people, you know, for me, I need to be able to write things down. I need to be able to go back over my notes. I need to be able to process and talk. You know, if I had questions, I would call Regina and other people that I trusted that were doing this work. And um, you know, it does get like, oh man, like this is a lot. You know, this is a lot. And for me, it's been kind of like remembering that these are all of our children.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be like, I have my own kids, I have my own job, I live in California, this rent is crazy. You know, I'm working 2 and 3 jobs. I don't have the space, I don't have the capacity. Um, and then I remember my privilege.
Mm.
Um, and I think we just don't do that. We don't remember our privilege in this situation. I didn't grow up in a situation where, you know, I was exploited as a child. I didn't grow up in a situation where I had parents who treated me very poorly, you know, so that, or didn't love me in ways that I needed, so that I was seeking love from someone else, so that I would put myself in a position to be vulnerable to trafficking. I had people who poured into me as a young person. I had adults who let me know that they were looking out for me and that they were, you know, that I was important to them. And so for me, it really is about doing all of those things for young people because it was done for me, you know, and it's not, to me, it's not out of obligation. When I do things, and this is just from my perspective and my spiritual background, I'm always thinking about what's happening 7 generations after me. And so when I think about what I want the world to look like, not just for my kids, but for their children and their children's children and so on, then I realize that there are certain things that I'm going to have to do that I'm not going to be comfortable doing, that I may not want to do at all, but is necessary in order for everybody to be better. And so, um, so yeah, I've, you know, talked to Regina about ways that I can assist survivors of trafficking. So I do it in the ways that I know how to do. And I, you know, have a nursing background. And so I can do wellness class. I know I do wellness classes. And also just like one-on-one mentorship, talking to people, not even mentorship, just being available, I think is really important. And because a lot of these young people don't have people who are available to them, and they've been pushed to the side. They've been rejected in so many ways from the people who are most important to them. And so, yeah, when I think about what kind of world I want my kids to live in, I cannot tell them to behave in certain ways and to do certain things if they don't see me doing it. So for me,
Yeah.
that's the impetus for my continued work, but also just you know, as Gandhi has said, you be the change that you want to see. I need to see a culture of respect for, for young people, and just for our community, and really thinking about what we want this to look like and what this should be. And not just in a dreamy kind of way, but like, doing the things that we can do, and not feeling like, oh, I'm not doing enough. You're doing, whatever it is, it's enough. And just
Yeah.
keep doing it. You have to just keep doing it. There's no like, I'm on this track and I do these things, and I'm, whatever your path is going to be your path. And so you can't compare it to anybody else. Just keep going.
And I remember one time I called you early morning to go onto the track with me, and you cooked breakfast for the beloved and for me. Remember?
Yep.
It was early.
Yeah.
I was like, Regina, I need to go to the track. Something's going on. Rashida came, pulled up, and with 2 breakfast plates. It's like little things like that, that people remember. So I think the same question for you, Teresa, and then I think we're going to play an excerpt of 52 letters.
Great. Yeah. Also, we have some questions also that we would like to.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take some questions.
Okay. Well, the first question that people are asking, Kevin Prasad, he's asking that there has been a lot of documentaries and movies discussing drugs and human trafficking. And he wants to ask you if you see any connections between drugs and sex trafficking.
I mean, a lot of the drug traffickers have gotten into the trafficking game because, you can sell a child over and over. And also, so it's more profitable for them. And additionally, the sentencing is not as high. I think it's getting there, but for drugs, it's higher. And so it's safer for them. So
gangs are switching, doing that switch. They're switching to human trafficking more so than drug trafficking, because they look at a human as a consumable good, where a drug, when you use a drug one time, it's over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that thought is there, but yes.
We do. I want to say this too, like in Alameda County, I think we have the highest conviction rate through the DA's office. So that's
in the nation.
So, but also there needs to be more of a holistic, methodology as well. If you're just looking at a standpoint of healing, we need to heal our babies. Our sons, because they're our sons and our daughters. So it would be dope if the community had like some kind of system where, they come to us. They come to us.
Yeah.
And that's where, I think back in the day, they used to say it was something like, we take you to the woodshed, you go to the woodshed, you come out, you'd be straight. But that was like the community would be on you, and your healing would be via the community. So that's also a prayer of mine. So.
Okay.
Gina has a,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Gina has a question about how are the programs going that are run through DA, the district department, the district attorney, district attorney office. How is currently? If there are any programs, I don't know. Are the programs of prevention or dealing with the issues about sex trafficking that you might know?
Through the DA's office?
Uh-huh.
Well, the DA has the HEAT program, and I know that's still going on. The DA also runs the Family Justice Center, which is on 27th between, I think, Telegraph and Broadway, which is, I know Baywar is there. There's people get counseling there, access to housing, and just a slew of other things. I don't know the website. I think it's familyjusticecenter.org or something like that. But that's a great center for people to go to. But I know Heat Watches, it's just doesn't ever stop. I mean, it's a continuous program. So I don't know if that answers your question. If not, you can email me.
Yeah,
So
Mackenzie Lola, she's asking if what ways does trafficking affect victims and how impactful can it be through their lives?
whew, well,
That-
I'll answer that. It is because I am a survivor. I won't say that it will stick with you for the rest of your life, but you always have to be on a healing journey. It doesn't, you can still thrive, but you have to be on a healing journey, and you have to have, it's imperative for you to have people around you that will hold you. It's almost like I'm dyslexic, so my thought processes are different. It's almost, sometimes I know my responses are, and I know they stem from my being trafficked. It's not like they're off, it's just that I respond to things differently. And so the people around me, they understand that. And but also too, I have people like, I remember when I started telling people I was a survivor, it was almost like I put a target on my back. People are like, oh, you're a survivor. It's kind of like that. People start talking to you different, and I'm like, don't cry for me, Argentina, because I've done more than most of y'all have done. More than most of y'all. So it's like, don't do that to people. It's just, it literally is one chapter that does have an effect upon your life, but it's not that you can't manage it. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Regina. That was really powerful. I just kind of wanted to answer your question. You mentioned earlier, like what was it about? Like, how am I involved? I'm not directly involved at all. Like I mentioned throughout, it was on the peripheral for me, because of many of the things that you all mentioned. I knew it existed. I didn't know what to do. I sympathized. And so, but I realized once you shared your story and with watching you and your advocacy and all of your community around you that I've, have learned and grown from, that two things. Like, I have a platform here, right, to showcase issues that we talk about, like I mentioned, and bring awareness, because it's only through education that we can do this, right? And so I felt like maybe this is my platform to showcase various injustices in our society and systemic oppression that's going on, right? And so I feel like maybe that's what I can contribute from my lens and what I can do. But I also have went to your installation of Beloved and Insistence and helped out there. And I was just so inspired to another level that I actually told my son's youth group pastor about it, right? And that kind of kept him going. And then he talked about Regina in a sermon and what she did. And so now the youth group and that church community wants to do something for the Beloved, right? And so even though I feel like my contribution is not on the front line like yours, I feel like by all these little steps that I'm engaging in slowly, it's taken a couple of years since I've met you. But now I feel like I'm ready to do more. I'm ready to maybe, I took that one class I don't know, you saw the certificate,
Yeah.
right? Regina? Well, I took that class. I want to do more, and maybe that is mentoring, you know? So even though it could start from a literally small step based on your passion or what you can do, right? It can grow into
Mhm.
being a healing, like you all mentioned.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna, uh,
Yeah, we are going to share the video. Are we ready for the video? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we can maybe answer more questions as we wrap up if there is possibly time.
Yeah. Just I wanted to mention, without you, Teresa, like this programming and this platform, it couldn't happen. Like, and I think that you, in one way, has given us this opportunity and the resources to do our work, and I think this is very valuable. Like, I don't think like that it is not a beginning for you, that you have done it, and maybe it's not articulated right now,
Yeah.
but you really have supported us so much in the last past 5 years. So I really truly appreciate that. I want to make it
connector is important.
I believe
Connector.
in your work. I believe this is what we need to do in education is make that connection, you know, because we just talk about it and we just walk away like you all said. We need to make that connection, and that's what this symposium is about, I hope.
great. I think we are ready for the last thing.
Okay.
America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful. How did we get here? To a space where the bartering and selling of our children is at a tipping point, here in the United States of freedom. Deeper yet, why are we still here? Visiting a once upon a time echo of a past day brutality that rendered the earth soaked with the blood of generational multitudes. Do y'all get and understand that this is slavery of an old smell? Different plantation, same evil brew. Rape, oppression, family displacement, sold for economic gain, life, legacy, annihilated, torn asunder, and terrorized.
Child trafficking in
The spirit of massa has just morphed into the soul of a pimp who now utilizes a street corner, a brothel, a motel room, and the internet as a finely tuned for profit, present day version of the old slave auction block. Yes, once upon a time is still here. Is still here. But the evil squeeze of the long ago was never destined to possess the prize of the golden ark of her existence. And so now there must be a collective and determined legacy of guiding her out of a valley of trouble and delivering her into the light of the this time tomorrow shall be her sweet today. Oh, beautiful. For heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, unless you allow yourself to be called to the place of decision that asks you to give of your everything, you will not know how to love her. Because you cannot catch hold of a cry for help that hangs in the atmosphere if your heart is blind, and humanity cannot teach you if you come as if a closed palm student. So you must agree to become Agape's progeny, servant to the invisible, lover of a forgotten no one, no ones. And then humility will allow the bend of your own back to carry the story of her grief. It will tattoo her sweet notes upon your arms, gifting you with the wisdom of how to love her. with the actions and intentions of your heart. A simple 3-part message of her desires. Sing to her the things of beauty. Walk by her side and give her hope. Hold her hand to quiet her fears. Sing to her the things of beauty until her wounds are finally bound by the kiss of life and weeping no longer remembers her name. Walk by her side and give her hope until she is the sound of the dream, beauty in motion, faith in bloom, and the rise of justice as it springs forth. Hold her hand to quiet her fears until she is able to wear a crown of beauty instead of ashes, to bask inside the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and to dance inside a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. And if you do these things, then she will know that life has not forgotten her, that it has heard her cry and felt her tears, and she will begin to believe that she will not die, but she will live. Live. And all because you dared to learn a deeply simple message of love. For the sake of you, for the sake of you, for the sake of you, and for the saving of all that she was ever created to be, wade in the water for your children. Wade in the water for your children.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See those people dressed in black. They come a long way and they ain't turning back. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See those people dressed in red. They look like the people that Moses led. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See those people dressed in white. They look like the children of the Israelites. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Rashida.
Chills. You weren't even
Oh, Rashida. I had to mute myself because I was singing. but you guys heard the audience singing. That happened like so many performances, like and on different songs. Like I think the first time it happened, we were like, "Whoa!" But it's so beautiful. I got chills.
Yeah, so did
Thank you.
I. We
Amazing.
have about 10 minutes left, and I wanted to know just quickly, if there's one thing that you want us to remember out of all of this, because we went all over the place, right? Like we talked about deep issues. What is the one thing you want, if each of you can tell me, like you want the audience to like walk away with knowing and remembering?
So I always ask a question after 52 letters. Well, two questions. And the first question is, what would you do if you knew that a child was being trafficked? And so I just let people think about it. And then I ask this question, what would you do if your child was being trafficked? And trust me, the second, like people give answers on the first, but the second question, the answers are, they get violent.
Mhm.
And so what that tells me is that we are not seeing, you know, these children as our children. I don't advocate for violence, but it's like, keep that feeling there, that thing that's making you like, ugh, you know, and to keep that for other people's children who are your children. They're all our children. And so that's what I would want to leave the audience with, that thought.
Great. How about you, Jose, Rashida, and then we'll end with Benita.
Well, definitely, for me, it's like how to get involved. I mean, I want people, I want students, I want the new generation to get involved. I mean, like it is not easy, and it's emotionally powerful and overwhelming, but I think always there is a way. And I think when you do it together as a community, it's a way of healing not only yourself but also the community. And I feel that anyway, I mean, like people are asking, like, you know, like what should we bring, you know, like just like the activation means like you become physical active to do things. And I think that's what I would like for students, for faculty, for people in general to participate, to activate spaces, to activate their physical energy for this issue that is affecting us all.
Okay, how about you, Rashida?
Very simple. Do the work.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to do the work and seek support when you are low on the capacity for the ability to do it, but do it because it
Thank
needs
you.
to be.
And then finally, Benita, the mentor, the queen.
You know, I think they've said it so beautifully, but I would say find what your something is. Find what your community needs. That means you, because you are what they need, you yourself, you have to ask to get involved. You have to find someone in your community is working on this issue. Find those someones all around the Bay, because we don't really need, you know, another group of people doing their own thing, but find those working on this issue, join them. Like Jose said, it's a collaborative effort, and ask, how can you get involved with them? They will have a list for you, believe me. I'm a part of most of them. They will have a list for you. And what can you offer? Because we need your resources. And resources are not always money. Yes, we need your financial resources to help us do the work, but time is a resource. What do you do with what's in your hand? What is it that you do? Use what you're doing in the corporations. We live in the richest area in this country, Silicon Valley. And we have so many people who have so many things to offer. Get your company to offer some workforce development for this population.
Right.
so that,
Yeah.
going to work at McDonald's is not going to cut it to pay
Nope.
rent for the house that they can't find.
Preach.
So, and I don't mean to be preachy today, but this is what is needed. Love Never Fails is a good example of that. They have their workforce development program, and they are churning out almost quarterly people who are going in the high IT industry. How many more companies are there who could come alongside? So that's enough preaching, but offer what you have in your hand. We all do some type of work and have something that we're natural at. I'm a music educator. And so that's what I'm offering to this. I'm going to begin to offer to this population is finding their healing through the arts. And we've already seen a perfect example of that today.
Yeah, we have.
Of how the arts is a vehicle, is a mechanism, is a method to find healing.
Well, thank you so much. We have to wrap up, but I want to say thank you so much for coming. Thank you for doing this. It's a really important issue, and I'm so honored to know you all and participate in it. I can't wait to collaborate with you all. Thank you to my college for, supporting this, and my posse, which includes Carmen and Janice and Sharon and my department and you all. We're going to have other events. If you're interested in them, you can maybe put your name in the chat, your email in the chat, and we'll send you the list of the other social justice events. Regina and her crew which includes Rashida and maybe Benita. Definitely, you're always part of it. What was I going to say? They're going to be part of 2 more events, right? And so I'm just going to end because it was pretty powerful, and I want to give Regina the closing after Jose in a minute to say a poem for us, and then you're more than welcome to leave. Jose, quick thing.
Yeah. I wanted to recognize the amazing work of our interpreters,
Yes.
Kat, Heidi, and Andrea. Love, they have doing an amazing work. Also behind the scenes, our co-producer Devi Kajiyama, that she has been always with us, trying to make sure that the whole technology works for us. So anyway, so thank you so much for your work, Regina. Thank you so much, Benita, for all your wisdom, and Rashida, your beautiful sounds is really amazing. Thank you so much. And we end up with our amazing Regina Evans.
She is your sister, your daughter, your child, and your friend. And her life is reflected in the eyes of your own heart. Her sound echoes within you, and her cry spouts up from the place of your own hope. Because humanity does not exist as a sole proprietor of oneness. It exists as a graceful teacher, so that we might learn to become the watchful keepers of one another. She is your sister, your daughter, your child, and your friend. May the full might of your love prevail as you sing to her the things of beauty. Sing, sing, sing. Somebody's baby, somebody's child. When will you recognize her pain? Ashe, amen. And thank you for joining us today, all.
Thank you so much. Whoop, whoop.